Her body had refused to reproduce, but a human treated her like a queen. As the morning sun cast long shadows across the crystal formations of Ketra Prime. As Zerethek stood before the Council of Mothers, her forearms trembled slightly, but she kept her head high. The large chamber buzzed with the clicking sounds of her people, the Vexhi. Hundreds of compound eyes stared at her from the walls where the colony members watched. Zerethek of the Third Brood, announced Elder Mother Vixana, her voice echoing through the hive chamber. You have failed the fertility trials for the third time. Our laws are clear. Zerethek felt her heart sink. She had known this day would come. But hearing the words still hurt. In Vexhi society, everything revolved around making new life. Those who could not produce offspring were seen as broken, useless to the hive. The doctors have tried everything, Zerethek said, her voice steady despite her fear. My body simply cannot. Silence. Elder Mother Vixana cut her off. We do not need excuses. We need results. You have consumed resources for 27 cycles without contributing to our genetic future. The hive cannot waste more time on you. The other council mothers nodded in agreement. Their wings buzzed in unison, creating a low humming sound that filled the chamber. This was the sound of judgment, the sound Zerethek had feared since her second failed attempt. You are hereby banished from all hive territories. The Elder Mother continued. You have 1 hour to gather your belongings and leave. If you return, you will be executed. Zerethek bowed her head. I understand, Elder Mother. As she walked through the hive corridors for the last time, other Vexhi moved away from her. Some whispered to each other. Children pointed at her with curiosity until their parents pulled them away. She was now marked as a failure, someone to avoid. In her small chamber, Zerethek packed her few possessions into a travel sack. She took her research notes about the planet's mineral formations, her water container, and some basic tools. Everything else belonged to the hive. Her sister Kixar appeared at the doorway. I am sorry. Zerethek, she said quietly. I wish things were different. Do not risk yourself for me. Zerethek replied, Take care of your younglings. Make the hive proud. Kixar touched her sister's arm gently, then quickly left. Association with an exile could bring shame to her own family. 1 hour later, Zerethek walked through the main gates of the hive city. The massive doors closed behind her with a loud bang. She did not look back. The crystal desert stretched endlessly before her. Ketra Prime's surface was covered with strange, glowing minerals that grew like trees from the ground. During the day, they were beautiful but offered little shade. At night, they glowed with soft light but provided no warmth. Zerethek began walking toward the distant mountains. She had studied geological surveys of this region during her work as a mineral analyst. There might be caves where she could find shelter. She knew her chances of survival were small, but she refused to give up without trying. For 3 days, she traveled across the crystal plains. Her water ran low, and the heat during the day was terrible. At night, the temperature dropped so much that she shivered constantly. Her feet became sore from walking on the sharp crystal formations. On the 4th day, weakness overcame her. She stumbled and fell beside a large blue crystal formation. Her water was gone, and she had not found any food. The Vexhi were not built for surviving alone in the wilderness. They were meant to live in communities, sharing resources and knowledge. As Zerethek lay there, she thought about her life. She had been a good student, learning about minerals and crystal formations faster than most of her peers. She had contributed valuable research to the hive's mining operations, but none of that mattered now. Only her reproductive failure defined her. She closed her eyes and waited for the end. Hey, are you okay? The voice spoke in a strange language, but Zerethek's universal translator device picked up the meaning. She opened her eyes and saw a bizarre creature standing over her. It had only 2 arms and 2 legs, pale pink skin, and small round eyes. Its face showed an expression she did not recognize. The creature knelt beside her and gently touched her arm. Oh wow, you're really dehydrated. Here, drink this slowly. It offered her a container of water. Zerethek was too weak to refuse. Even though the strange being might be dangerous, she drank carefully, feeling the precious liquid restore some of her strength. "My name is Elena," the creature said. "Dr. Elena Vasquez. I'm a scientist from Earth. Are you from the Hive Cities?" Zerthex managed to sit up. I am Zerthex. I was banished from my people." Elena's expression changed to something that looked like sadness. "Banished? Why, I cannot reproduce," Zerthex said simply. "My body is defective. I am worthless to the Hive." Elena stared at her for a long moment. "That's horrible. No one should be thrown away because of something like that." Zerthex did not understand Elena's reaction. "It is the way of my people. The Hive must survive and grow. Those who cannot contribute to the future are removed." "Well, I don't care what your people think," Elena said firmly. "You're coming with me. I have a research station about 2 kilometers from here. You need medical attention and proper food." Elena helped Zerthex to her feet. The human was much smaller than the Vex-High woman, but she was surprisingly strong. She supported Zerthex as they walked slowly across the crystal formations toward a group of strange metal structures in the distance. "Why are you helping me?" Zerthex asked as they walked. Elena looked up at her with those strange round eyes. "Because you're a person in trouble, and helping people is what decent beings do. Your reproductive status doesn't change that you have value." Zerthex did not understand what Elena meant, but something in the human's voice made her feel safer than she had felt in years. For the first time since her banishment, she began to hope that maybe her story was not over yet. As they reached Elena's research station, Zerthex wondered what kind of strange creature would risk itself to save someone that even her own people had thrown away. Perhaps there was more to learn about the universe than she had ever imagined. Elena's research station was unlike anything Zerthex had ever seen. The metal walls were covered with strange symbols and glowing screens that showed moving pictures. Equipment she did not recognize hummed quietly in the corners. The air smelled different too, cleaner somehow. "Sit here," Elena said, guiding Zerthex to a soft chair. "Let me check your vital signs." Elena moved a small device over Zerthex's body. It beeped softly as it scanned her. "Your electrolyte levels are dangerously low, but I think we can fix that. Are you in pain anywhere?" Zerthex was amazed by Elena's concern. "My feet are injured from walking on the crystals." "But why do you care about my condition?" Elena looked up from her device with surprise. "Why wouldn't I care? You're hurt and need help. That's enough reason for me." "But I'm not your species," Zerthex said slowly. "I am not even from your world, and I am defective." Elena's face showed that strange expression again, the one Zerthex was beginning to recognize as anger. "Stop calling yourself defective. There's nothing wrong with you. My body cannot create offspring." Zerthex explained, "In my society, this means I have no value. I cannot contribute to the future of my people." Elena was quiet for a moment as she prepared a medical injection. "On my world, we have a different idea about value. May I ask you some questions about your life before the banishment?" Zerthex nodded, curious about what Elena wanted to know. "What was your job in the Hive?" Elena asked as she gently cleaned Zerthex's injured feet. "I was a mineral analyst." Zerthex replied, "I studied the crystal formations on our planet. I helped find new mining sites and developed better extraction methods." Elena's eyes grew wide. "You're a scientist, like me." "I suppose so. I study the geological structures and chemical properties of the crystals. I published 17 research papers that helped increase mining efficiency by 30%. Elena stopped working on Zerthex's feet and stared at her. "You made discoveries that helped your entire civilization, and they threw you out because you can't have children." "Yes," Zerthex said simply. "My research achievements do not matter. Only reproductive success determines worth in Vex-High society." Elena shook her head in disbelief. "That's insane. On Earth, some of our greatest scientists, artists, and leaders never had children. They chose to dedicate their lives to knowledge and helping others instead. They were allowed to live?" Zerthex asked, genuinely shocked. "Of course they were allowed to live. They were celebrated and honored." Elena finished treating Zerthex's feet and moved to prepare food. "Let me show you something." Elena touched a screen on the wall, and it lit up with moving pictures. This is a recording from my home world. This woman was Marie Curie, one of our greatest scientists. She discovered new elements and won two Nobel Prizes. She never had time for many children, but she changed how we understand the universe. Zerthex watched the images with fascination. She was honored for her mind, not her body? Exactly. And this man was Leonardo da Vinci. He was an artist, inventor, and scientist. He never married or had children at all, but his ideas advanced human civilization for centuries. Elena showed her more examples: scientists, artists, philosophers, and leaders who had contributed to human society in ways that had nothing to do with reproduction. Zerethex's mind reeled as she tried to understand this concept. But how does your species survive if individuals can choose not to reproduce? Zerethex asked. We have plenty of people who do choose to have children, Elena explained. But we also understand that not everyone needs to reproduce for our species to thrive. Some people contribute in other ways, like advancing knowledge, creating art, or helping others. Elena prepared a meal for Zerethex. The food was different from what she was used to, but it tasted good and made her feel stronger. Tell me more about your research, Elena said as they ate. What kind of crystals did you study? Zerethex felt a spark of excitement. No one had asked about her work in years. The crystals on Ketra Prime have unique properties. They can store and transmit energy in ways we do not fully understand. I was trying to map their internal structures when I was banished. Elena leaned forward with interest. Energy storage and transmission? That sounds like it could be related to my own research. I'm studying the electromagnetic properties of these formations. You are studying our crystals? Zerethex asked. Yes, but I'm having trouble understanding their molecular structure. The patterns are unlike anything we've seen before. Zerethex thought for a moment. I might be able to help you. I have spent years studying these formations. I know their patterns and behaviors. Elena's face lit up with excitement. That would be amazing. I've been struggling with this problem for months, for the next several hours. Zerethex shared her knowledge with Elena. She explained the crystal growth patterns, their energy absorption cycles, and the way they responded to different stimuli. Elena listened carefully, asking intelligent questions and taking detailed notes. This is incredible, Elena said finally. Your understanding of these crystals is far beyond what I could have achieved alone. We could make real breakthroughs. Working together, Zerethex felt something she had not experienced in years, the joy of being useful, of having her knowledge valued and appreciated. You truly believe my research is valuable? Are you kidding? It's brilliant. Your people. We're fools to throw away someone with your intelligence and expertise. Elena showed Zerethex some of her own equipment and explained how human scientists conducted research. She shared stories about collaboration between scientists from different backgrounds and cultures. Zerethex was amazed to learn that humans actively sought out different perspectives and ideas on your world. Diversity of thought is seen as valuable. Zerethex asked. Absolutely. We believe that different viewpoints and experiences help us solve problems better. That's why I'm so excited to work with you. Your knowledge of these crystals, combined with human technology and methods, could lead to discoveries neither of us could make alone. As the day progressed, Zerethex began to understand something profound. Elena did not see her as a failed Vex High. She saw her as a scientist, a colleague, someone with valuable knowledge and insights. For the first time in her life, Zerethex felt truly appreciated for who she was rather than what her body could or could not do. Elena, Zerethex said quietly, thank you for showing me that there might be other ways to have value. Elena smiled warmly. You always had value, Zerethex. Your people just couldn't see it. But I can, and I'm grateful to have met you. As the evening approached, both women continued their discussion about crystals and science, beginning a partnership that would change both their lives forever. 3 weeks had passed since Elena found Zerethex in the crystal desert. The two women had fallen into a comfortable routine of working together during the day and sharing stories about their different worlds in the evening. Zerethex had never felt so useful or valued in her entire life. Look at this pattern, Zerthex said, pointing to her tablet screen. She and Elena were studying the energy readings from a group of blue crystals. Near the research station, the crystals are not just storing energy, they're actually communicating with each other. Elena leaned over to examine the data. Communicating. How? Watch these frequency patterns. Zerthex explained. When one crystal receives energy, it sends a signal to the others. They share information about the energy levels across the entire network. Elena's eyes grew wide with excitement. That's incredible. If we could understand their communication method, we might be able to use it for our own purposes. Zerthex nodded enthusiastically. I have been thinking the same thing. These crystals could revolutionize long-distance communication across space. The signals seemed to travel faster than light. Faster than light? Elena gasped. Are you sure? I believe so. Look at these timing measurements. The signals reach crystals on the other side of the planet almost instantly. Much faster than light could travel that distance. Elena stood up and began pacing excitedly. Do you understand what this means? If we could harness this technology, we could create instant communication across the galaxy. No more waiting years for messages to travel between star systems. The two women worked feverishly for the next several days, testing their theory. They set up experiments with crystal samples at different locations, measuring the speed and accuracy of the communication signals. Their results confirmed what they had suspected. The crystals were using some form of quantum entanglement to communicate instantaneously across vast distances. We need to document everything carefully, Elena said as she recorded their latest test results. This discovery could change the future of galactic civilization. Zerthex felt a deep sense of pride and accomplishment for the first time in her life. She was part of something truly important. Her knowledge of the crystals, combined with Elena's human technology and scientific methods, had led to a breakthrough that could benefit countless worlds. Elena, Zerthex said as they worked late into the night, I want to thank you again. Without your belief in me, I would have died in the desert. Now I am part of the most important discovery of my lifetime. Elena smiled warmly. We make a good team. Your expertise made this possible. Their work was interrupted the next morning by a distant rumbling sound. Elena looked up from her equipment with concern. That sounds like ships approaching. Zerthex felt her heart sink. She recognized the sound of Vex high atmospheric vehicles. It is a scouting party from the hive. They must have detected your research station. 3 sleek, insect-like ships landed near the research station, kicking up clouds of crystal dust. Armed Vex-High warriors emerged from the vessels, their weapons drawn and ready. Their leader, a tall female with scarred chitin and bright red markings, approached the station. I am Commander Crystal of the 3rd Scouting Division. The leader announced, We have detected unauthorized alien presence in this sector. Show yourselves. Elena and Zerthex stepped outside the station. The warriors immediately focused their attention on Zerthex, their weapons trained on her. Zerthex the exiled. Commander Crystal said with disgust, You were banished from these lands. Your presence here is forbidden. I am not in Hive territory, Zerthex replied, trying to keep her voice steady. This is neutral ground. Neutral ground contaminated by alien presence, Crystal said. Turning to Elena, Human, you are interfering with Vex-High law by harboring an exile. She should have been left to die as punishment for her defects. Elena stepped forward, placing herself between the warriors and Zerthex. I don't care about your laws. Zerthex is under my protection. The warriors buzzed angrily at Elena's defiance. Several of them raised their weapons higher, but Commander Crystal held up a hand to stop them. You would risk your life for a worthless exile? Crystal asked, genuinely confused. She cannot reproduce. She serves no purpose to anyone. She serves a purpose to me, Elena said firmly. Zerthex is my research partner and my friend. She has contributed more to scientific knowledge in the past 3 weeks than many people do in their entire lives. Impossible, Crystal scoffed. She is barren. Her mind is as flawed as her body. Elena's anger flared. Her mind is brilliant, and I can prove it. Show them our data, Zerthex. Zerthex hesitated, but Elena nodded encouragingly. She activated her tablet and displayed their research findings. We have discovered that the crystals on Ketra Prime can communicate faster than light. This technology could revolutionize communication across the galaxy. Commander Crystal examined the data suspiciously. You claim to have made this discovery? We made it together, Elena said firmly. Zerethex's knowledge of crystal behavior was essential. Without her expertise, this breakthrough would have been impossible. The other warriors murmured among themselves, clearly confused by the idea that an exile could contribute to important work. Commander Crystal studied the data more carefully, her expression growing thoughtful. These findings appeared to be genuine, she admitted reluctantly, but it changes nothing. Zerethex is still in exile, still defective. The only thing defective here is your society's understanding of value, Elena said boldly. You throw away brilliant minds because they can't have children. That's not just wrong, it's stupid. The warriors raised their weapons again, outraged by Elena's insult to their culture. But Commander Crystal was intrigued by the humans' fierce loyalty. To someone the Vex High considered worthless, you would die for her, Crystal asked. If necessary, Elena replied without hesitation. Zerethex is worth defending, Commander. Crystal had never seen such devotion from someone who had no biological connection to the person they were protecting. In Vex High society, loyalty was based on genetic relationships and reproductive potential. This human's behavior made no sense according to their understanding of natural law. I will take word of this discovery to Queen Valandra, Crystal said finally. She will want to know about your research and your unusual partnership. In Zerethex, Elena asked, she will come with us to face judgment. The Queen will decide her fate. Then I'm coming too, Elena declared. If Zerethex is going to face your queen, she won't face her alone. Commander Crystal stared at Elena for a long moment. You would enter the hive, knowing you might never leave. Zerethex is my partner, Elena said simply. Partners stick together. As the warriors prepared to escort them to the hive city, Zerethex felt a mixture of fear and gratitude. She was terrified of facing the Queen's judgment, but Elena's unwavering support gave her strength. For the first time in her life, someone was willing to stand beside her against the entire Vex High civilization. The journey to the hive would determine not only their fate, but possibly the future of both their species. The journey to the hive city took 2 hours by air transport. Elena sat beside Zerethex in the cramped passenger compartment, watching the landscape change from crystal desert to the towering spires of the Vex High capital. The city was massive, with countless tunnels and chambers carved into living rock formations. I have never seen anything like this, Elena whispered, staring at the impressive architecture. Few outsiders have, Commander Crystal replied. You may be the first human to enter our capital city. As they landed at the central platform, thousands of Vex High gathered to stare at the strange procession. Word had spread quickly about the human who defended in exile. Elena felt their compound eyes watching her every movement, but she kept her head high and stayed close to Zerethex. Stay strong. Elena whispered to her friend, remember, your research speaks for itself. Zerethex nodded, but Elena could see the fear in her eyes. Returning to the hive that had cast her out was the hardest thing she had ever done. They were led through grand corridors filled with intricate carvings that told the history of the Vex High people. Elena noticed that all the carvings showed themes of reproduction, family groups, and the continuation of genetic lines. There were no images of individual achievement or scientific discovery. Finally, they reached the throne chamber, a vast space with a domed ceiling that seemed to stretch up forever. At the center sat Queen Valandra, an enormous Vex High with golden markings that indicated her royal status. She was surrounded by dozens of attendants and advisors. Approach, the Queen commanded, her voice echoing through the chamber. Elena and Zerethex walked forward until they stood before the throne. Hundreds of Vex High filled the viewing galleries, all waiting to see what would happen to the exile and her human defender. I am told that you, human, have corrupted one of our exiles, Queen Valandra began. You have filled her mind with false ideas about her worth. Your Majesty, Elena said, bowing respectfully but keeping her voice firm. I have not corrupted anyone. I have simply recognized the value that was already there. Value? The queen's antennae twitched with amusement. This creature cannot reproduce. She is a genetic dead end. What value could she possibly have? Elena took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for during the entire journey. Your Majesty, with your permission, I would like to show you what Zerthex and I have discovered together. The queen gestured for her to continue. Elena activated her portable display unit, projecting the research data into the air above the throne room floor. These crystals on your world have a unique property, Elena explained. They can communicate with each other instantly across vast distances. This technology could revolutionize how civilizations across the galaxy stay in contact. Murmurs rippled through the crowd as they saw the data. Even the queen leaned forward with interest. This discovery was made possible by Zerethex's deep knowledge of crystal behavior, Elena continued. Her expertise in mineral analysis was essential to understanding how the crystals work. Impossible, declared one of the queen's advisors. An exile cannot contribute to important research. But she did, Elena said firmly. Your Majesty, I ask you to consider this. If Zerethix had died in the desert as your laws intended, this discovery would never have been made. By casting her out, you nearly lost knowledge that could benefit your entire species. Queen Valandra studied the data more carefully. You claim this exile was essential to your research? Not just essential, Your Majesty. Brilliant. In 3 weeks. Zerthex showed me patterns in the crystals that I never would have seen alone. Her mind is one of the sharpest I have ever encountered. The queen turned to Zerthex. Speak, exile. Did you truly contribute to this discovery? Zerthex found her voice, though it trembled at first. Yes, Your Majesty. I studied these crystals 4 years before my banishment. I understood their growth patterns, their energy cycles, their communication methods. When Elena showed me her human technology, we were able to combine our knowledge in new ways. And what do you believe this discovery means for our people? The queen asked. It means the Vex High could lead the galaxy in communication technology. Zerthex replied, growing more confident. We could build networks that connect all inhabited worlds instantly. Trade, diplomacy, scientific collaboration, everything would be transformed. The queen was quiet for a long moment. Elena could see her weighing the implications of what she had heard. Your Majesty, Elena said, I want to tell you about some humans from my world's history. They were people who made great contributions to our civilization, but they never had children. Elena activated her display again, showing images of human scientists, artists, and thinkers. This woman discovered radiation and won two major scientific awards. This man painted masterpieces that still inspire people centuries later. This person developed mathematical theories that helped us understand the universe. None of them reproduced. The queen asked. Some had children, others chose not to. And some simply couldn't, Elena explained. But we honor them all for their contributions to knowledge and culture. We learn that a civilization becomes stronger when it values all kinds of talents, not just the ability to produce offspring. The crowd buzzed with discussion. This was a completely foreign concept to most Vex High. You are suggesting that we change our most fundamental beliefs, the queen said slowly. I'm suggesting that you recognize the value you already have, Elena replied. Your Majesty, how many brilliant minds has your society discarded over them? Centuries? How many discoveries have been lost because the people who could have made them were cast out? Queen Valandra stood up from her throne, her impressive height making her tower over everyone in the chamber. Human, you speak of things that challenge the very foundation of our society. You ask us to value individuals over the genetic future of our species. I ask you to value both, Elena said boldly. A society that wastes brilliant minds like Zerthex is weakening itself. You can preserve your genetic future while also honoring individual contributions. And if we reject your ideas? The queen asked. Elena looked directly at the queen, her voice steady and clear. Then you will continue to lose valuable people like Zerthex. Meanwhile, other civilizations that value all kinds of talent will surpass you in science, technology, and culture. the queen turned to her advisors, who whispered urgently among themselves. Elena could see that her words had created serious debate among the Vex High leadership. "This is most unusual," the queen said finally. "Never before has an outsider challenged our ways so directly, and never before has an exile returned with such significant contributions." She looked at Zerthex with new interest. "You have given us much to consider, exile. Your research, combined with your human friend's perspective, has created a dilemma. For our people," Elena felt a spark of hope. The queen seemed to be genuinely considering their arguments. "I will need time to decide what this means for our future," Queen Valandra announced. "Until then, you will both remain as guests in the hive. Your safety is guaranteed while I consider your words." As guards escorted them to comfortable quarters, Elena felt cautiously optimistic. They had planted seeds of change in the queen's mind. Now they could only wait to see if those seeds would grow into something that could transform Vex High Society forever. For 3 days, Elena and Zerthex remained in their comfortable guest quarters while Queen Valandra deliberated. Through their window, they could see crowds of Vex High gathering in the streets below, engaged in heated discussions. Word of Elena's challenge to their society had spread throughout the hive, creating debates that had never happened before. "Look at them," Zerthex said, watching the groups of her people talking animatedly. "I have never seen Vex High argue about ideas like this." Elena nodded. "Change is never easy, especially when it challenges everything people have believed for generations." On the morning of the 4th day, Commander Crystal arrived to escort them back to the throne chamber. "The queen has made her decision," she said simply as they walked through the corridors. Elena noticed that more Vex High were watching them now. Some looked curious. Others appeared hostile, but all seemed deeply interested in what was about to happen. The throne chamber was packed with even more observers than before. Representatives from all the major hive districts had gathered to witness the queen's judgment. Elena could feel the tension in the air as she and Zerthex took their places before the throne. Queen Valandra stood tall and imposing, her golden markings gleaming in the chamber's light. "I have considered your words carefully, human Elena and exile Zerthex. Your arguments have created great discussion throughout our hive." The queen paused, looking out over the assembled crowd. "For countless generations, the Vex High have believed that reproductive capability is the only true measure of worth. This belief has guided every aspect of our society." Elena held her breath, waiting for the decision that would determine their fate. However, the queen continued. "Your discovery about our crystals has forced me to reconsider this ancient wisdom. If we had allowed Zerthex to die in the desert, this knowledge would have been lost forever. This troubles me greatly." Murmurs spread through the crowd. Elena could see that some Vex High looked shocked while others nodded thoughtfully. "I have consulted with our wisest advisors and studied the data you presented," Queen Valandra said. "Your research is indeed revolutionary. It could transform not just our species, but all of galactic civilization." The queen turned her attention directly to Zerthex, exile. "Your contributions to this discovery cannot be denied. Your knowledge and insights were essential to understanding the crystal's true potential." Zerthex stood straighter, feeling a mixture of hope and fear. "Therefore," the queen announced, "I am creating a new position in our society. Zerthex, you will become our first mind speaker, valued for your intellectual contributions rather than your reproductive capacity." Gasps echoed through the chamber. "This was unprecedented in Vex High history, Your Majesty," one of the advisors protested. "This goes against our most sacred traditions." "Our traditions serve us well in many ways," the queen replied, "but they are not perfect. We must be willing to grow and adapt, or we will be left behind by more flexible civilizations." Elena felt tears of joy in her eyes. They had actually done it. They had convinced an entire civilization to reconsider its fundamental beliefs. "Elena of Earth," the queen continued, "your defense of Zerthex has shown us something we had never considered before. You demonstrated that value can be recognized across species lines, regardless of biological function. This perspective has opened our minds to new possibilities." The queen raised her voice so all could hear. "From this day forward, the Vex High will establish a new council of mind speakers. These will be individuals who contribute through knowledge, creativity, and wisdom rather than reproduction. They will work alongside our traditional families to strengthen our entire civilization. The crowd erupted in discussion. Some cheered while others buzzed angrily. Eleanor realized that this change would not be accepted easily by everyone, but it was a crucial first step. Zerthex will lead this new council, the Queen declared. She will identify others who have been overlooked or discarded because of their reproductive status. We will no longer waste the brilliant minds among us. Zerthex stepped forward and bowed deeply. Your Majesty, I am honored beyond words. I pledge to serve our people with all my knowledge and abilities. Elena, the Queen said, turning to the human scientist, we offer you a permanent position as our first interspecies research coordinator. Will you help us learn from other civilizations and share our discoveries with the galaxy? Elena was stunned by the offer. Your Majesty, I would be honored to accept. Commander Crystal, who had been watching silently, stepped forward. Your Majesty, I wish to volunteer for the Mind Speaker Council. I have always been more interested in military strategy and tactics than in reproduction. The Queen smiled. The first time Elena had seen such an expression on a Vex High face. Your application will be considered, Commander. Over the following months, the changes began to take hold. Zerthex worked tirelessly to identify other failed Vex High who possessed valuable skills and knowledge. She found artists who had been discarded for their inability to reproduce, but whose work inspired new forms of cultural expression. She discovered engineers whose innovative designs had been ignored because of their biological status. Elena helped establish communication networks with other civilizations, sharing the crystal technology discovery and learning about different approaches to valuing individuals. The Vex High began to see themselves as part of a larger galactic community, rather than an isolated species focused only on genetic survival. The crystal communication technology revolutionized interstellar contact, allowing instant communication across vast distances. The Vex High became leaders in this new field, with Zerthex at the forefront of ongoing research. Not all Vex High accepted the changes immediately. Some traditional groups continued to believe that reproductive capability was the only true measure of worth, but gradually, as the benefits of the new system became obvious, more and more individuals embraced the expanded definition of value. Elena often reflected on how a simple act of compassion in the crystal desert had led to such profound changes. By treating Zerthex as valuable when her own people saw her as worthless, she had sparked a revolution in thinking that would affect generations to come. One evening, as they worked late in their new research facility, Zerthex turned to Elena. You saved my life that day in the desert, but you did so much more than that. You showed an entire civilization that there are different ways to measure worth. Elena smiled at her friend and colleague. We did that together. Your brilliance made it possible. Looking out at the stars through their laboratory window, both women knew that their partnership had changed not just their own lives, but the future of their species. The human concept of valuing every individual, regardless of their biological function, was spreading across the galaxy, one world at a time. Zerthex had gone from exile to leader, and Elena had become a bridge between civilizations. Together, they had proven that sometimes the greatest discoveries come not from laboratories or technology, but from the simple recognition that every thinking being has inherent worth and dignity.